Hey guys, Colin here. How's it going? We're going to take a look at the behavioral analysis of WannaCry ransomware. So this is a sample which is being discussed in the wild today. Very prevalent, and unfortunately looks like to have affected a number of hospitals throughout the UK, and a number of other large businesses around Europe as well. So we're going to take a look at the sample. We're going to run it, and we're going to look to see if we can get any key indicators out of the sample itself, from a file system perspective, from a persistence perspective, and also from a network indicator perspective. So this particular ransomware, so WannaCry version 2, or WannaCryptor as it's being called as well, doesn't necessarily need to call out to a malicious server in order to encrypt your files. Now what that means in layman's terms is if this binary or this sample is on your machine does not need to be connected to the internet in order for it to execute and encrypt all of your files. Most ransomware samples do actually need that C2 server contact in the first place in order to get their encryption key. So that would suggest that this particular sample has the key built into it already, and maybe some smart guys in the AV companies will reverse engineer the malware in its entirety and uncover exactly how the encryption is working under the hood. That's definitely not for this video. What we're going to take a look at is we're going to run the binary, we're going to see how it interacts with the file system, we're going to see it in action, and also we're going to see if we can get any network indicators out of it that it does use to communicate, which is probably over the Tor network, as we'll see. We'll have a look at the persistence, and we'll see if if you have that in your environment, you know exactly how to remove it. So cool, we've got the binary from VirusTotal. Here's the hash, and we'll share that in the description as well. And what we'll do is we'll stick this on a virtual machine. So I'm using Windows 7 in this instance, and I've got Process Hacker running here just so I can inspect the processes and poke around them. I'm also going to use Flypaper because I want to stick open any processes which try and close. They probably close a little bit too quickly for me to capture them and suspend them. So Flypaper does a good job of just holding them open for me. So that's cool. We can also run Wireshark in the background as well. And that will just tick away and obviously capture any network traffic as well. So let's leave that running. I don't want to block TCP/IP, but I do want to block program exits within Flypaper. So that's cool. And also let's get it running. So let's get Flypaper started, and let's see what we've got first off. And if we need to revert the machine and run it again in different circumstances, we'll go with that. So let's run the binary. We can see a few child processes automatically spawn. We can see that there's a C script entry as well, child process of command. So it looks like there's a script that's been invoked, and we can see the child processes again being invoked, which is encrypted the device. And you can see actually it's managed to encrypt the machine really quickly, or certainly start the process of encrypting really quickly, and that's now flying through the rest of the file system, no doubt, and encrypting the files and folders within the rest of the C drive. So that's cool. We've got this really cool annoying pop-up as well. So the first indicator I'd probably like to get out of this one is where this is going to reach out to if I do try and communicate back to the bad guys. You can see actually I can contact them, I can write them a message, I can check if I've paid, and then also I can press the decrypt button, which will probably look to decrypt my files if on their server side of things that they can validate that I've actually paid the $300 they're asking for. So that's cool. You can also see as well that there's a countdown clock for the payment to increase should I not pay the $300 in the first place. So let's just flip back to here for 1 second. I'm going to suspend these processes just to stop them playing the game any further. Also, we can leave Flypaper going for now at the moment, just to keep those held open. We'll take a look at these and see if there's any file system information we can get from these processes as well. Let's take a look in Wireshark really quickly and see if there's any smoking guns as the network indicators. Is it trying to talk back anywhere at this moment in time? I don't see anything straight away off the top of it. So what we're going to do actually is just let it. Let's see if we can force it to kind of open up a little bit when we get the screen back up and running. In fact, we'll come back to that in 1 second. What we'll do is we'll run in the let's run through these processes and see whether or not there's actually anything of interest to us in here, and that I can see I kind of lost my screen here. So let's stop that. Let's press done. Let's see if I can get back to my desktop with anything. Without anything getting in the way. Cool. So you can see there's quite a lot of folders and files that have been written to my desktop, so that's interesting. First thing I want to have a look at then is those processes. We've got avtrib.exe, that seems to run with a .h parameter. Let's have a look at the strings in memory and see if there's anything in here which is of interest to us. We can see there's a lot of stuff about the system, which we probably expect from the process being run as a child process. Not much of interest to us here, so maybe this is being used to spawn. You can see actually we see references to command.exe. Maybe that's looking at running the next process in the chain. So yeah, nothing great stuff from the strings on that one. Let's move to iCalcs. We can see the process, the command line that this process has been invoked with, and you can see the dot there, which represents a current directory, and it's granting everyone access basically to everything. So it's granting them our access to do whatever it wants to do in terms of file permissions. taskdl.exe, let's have a look at the properties of this one. We can see actually this is invoked and it sits on the desktop. So this is a file that's been written to my desktop and has then subsequently been invoked by the parent process. So that's interesting. Let's have a look and see if we can get the strings from memory on this one and see if there's anything a bit more interesting here. Seems to be a bit more activity, but again, not great in terms of the amount of strings that are in the memory. So pretty short process, probably not designed to do an awful lot. Maybe it's designed just to invoke a separate process as well. Again, without a deeper dive on the binary itself, who knows? So we'll skip that one. We can see there's a command process which then invokes C script. And you can see C script here is the parameters that are passed to it. It's running a program called m.vbs. So we can see whether we've got m.vbs. It looks like that's going to run in the context of the current directory, which is from the desktop. I don't immediately see m.vbs on the desktop, so maybe if we wanted to actually see what the contents of that VBS file were, we'd run this with capture bat and we'd get it to kind of keep any files which get deleted. But we haven't got it in that instance, so we'll see whether maybe the contents are in the memory strings. So we can see here the references again to how it's invoked. And again, we've got quite a few more strings in this particular one, and we can see references here to wannacry.exe.link on my desktop. So maybe that's a persistence mechanism. We don't quite know just at this moment in time. We can see enumerating information in the path and the various kind of system profile information, lots of DLL stuff. And then let's see if we get any network indicators out of this particular one here. So we can see all the crypto signing stuff, probably APIs that it's using in order to obviously carry out the ransomware activity as well. Anything else of interest in this particular one? Doesn't look like it from the outset. Quick flick flu. Let's see. No, nothing further that's jumping out of me on that one. So let's move on to WannaDecryptor. We can see again how it's invoked. This is again on the desktop. Let's have a look in strings and see whether there's any network indicators here. We can see this check payment. We can see a reference to Tor as well. So that's interesting. It probably means actually the binary is it comes with its own Tor version of Tor. And then it uses that to communicate back to the bad guy. So that's probably what we'll see maybe in the PCAP. You can see some further references to this is probably something to do with how that pop-up is being generated, Bitcoin addresses and the address to go and pay. So those are network indicators that you would definitely need to block in your environment, and have a look and see whether you've got any impact as well. And loads of stuff on language. So this is probably disable your antivirus for a while until you pay. The payment gets processed. That's interesting. And here's what looks to be like the message it's generating when the actual ransomware is taking effect. Decryptor 2. Right. Anything else of interest to us in here? Probably not. No. Let's move on. Okay. Task HSVC. Do me a favor and give me some good results. Let's see. Right, this is looking good. So we've got Bootstrap establishing a Tor circuit. These are the messages that get booted out to the console when a binary communicates with Tor. So we can see it definitely communicating with Tor. We see IP addresses in here, which is really cool. So let me go back to my host, CyberChef, which is a go-to for my regex. We're going to steal CyberChef's IPv4 regex, and we're going to use that to filter out IPs in this particular process. So here we got some really cool network indicators. We've got a list of directory servers from Tor. We've got a list of IP addresses which the ransomware it must be using to communicate out over. And we can see some other stuff as well, again related to Tor. So we'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to dump this out. We're going to call it strings.txt. Let's save that somewhere better. Let's save it on the desktop. We'll get it. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Search results. Strings.txt. Was that the right one? Certainly was. Let me grab that and we'll put it back on my host. Good. Don't want a double file extension. Okay, and then what we're going to do is going to cat strings.txt. We're going to grep for extended regex, and we're just going to show the matches for the IPv4 addresses. Let's have a look. Have we got them? Yeah, we got them. Extract them from there. We're going to sort them. We're going to pipe it into unique. That's good. And then we're going to pipe that to ips.txt. Right, that's cool. Let's have a look at this in Sublime. ips.txt. Right, we've got some false positives. Get rid of those. Right, and they're your key network indicators that you definitely need to block in your environment. So obviously look for activity if you're seeing any network indicators, maybe on your proxy logs or anything like that to these IP addresses over Tor. Yeah, these should be definitely marked up as suspicious within your proxy, and you don't want to be able to have the bad guy communicate out over these. So that's cool. We got some good network indicators. We've got some good process indicators. We definitely want, if you wanted to see exactly all the files and stuff which are written in a nice easy format, probably use something like the likes of capture bat, and that will capture all of the files that are being processed and enable you to get hashes of those files really quickly. So let's take a look really quickly at the persistence mechanism. So I use sysinternals auto runs for this. Let's have a look and see whether there's anything persistence-wise that we need to take a note of. And we can see highlighted in yellow here. And it's highlighted because actually the file's not found, but the bad guys have put an entry in HKey local machine software Windows current version run, which is obviously a very popular run key or persistence mechanism. We can see here that actually they're trying to invoke task sche.exe from the desktop. But that file isn't actually found, so actually it's not going to remain persistent, although you do want to remove that particular run key. Probably what we'll find actually is we have a look in task data. We've got these files and folders which have been written by the malware onto the machine, and we can see actually that's where task HSVC lives, and it's within the task data Tor folder on the machine, and not in fact directly on the desktop. So maybe they've messed that up in terms of their persistence. Who knows? So yeah, definitely all of these. Let's get them in hash my files, and you can get the MD5 hashes of all of these files, these binaries and DLLs. So you can see actually that Tor and SVC are the same hash. And in fact, that's probably the if it's named correctly, tor.exe is probably the Tor binary it's using to invoke in order to communicate back out over the network to the bad guys. So definitely hashes you do not want in your environment, and definitely hashes you want to protect yourself against from an antivirus perspective as well. So one last quick look at Wireshark. Let's see whether we captured anything additional. Doesn't look like there's anything from a DNS perspective. Let's have a lock from a HTTP perspective. There's probably all sorts of weird and wonderful Windows stuff in here, which is pretty difficult to dissect without going through line by line. We'll have a look at just general TCP traffic, and we can see here there's plenty of stuff which the malware is trying to call out to, and plenty of IP addresses which you can garner from this particular PCAP. So let's get the PCAP saved, get the conversations viewed, and again get those network indicators blocked in your environment. So cool, that's all I want to show you guys. We've had some behavioral analysis, we've seen it run, we've seen what it does, we've looked at the processes really quickly, we've dumped the strings out, we've got the network indicators from the strings that it uses, and we've seen the persistence mechanisms, or actually the lack of persistence mechanisms that this particular sample uses, and how to eradicate those. So definitely if you've got this in your environment and you've got some impact from it, you'll be looking at rebuilding your machine. It does delete the volume shadow copies. It will delete the backups of any files that are under underneath it. So unfortunately, if the ransomware has taken effect, that machine is lost unless you have got some off-site network backup, which has not been impacted by the particular sample. Definitely recommend to rebuild the machine, but also get as many indicators as you can using this video and using other write-ups and blogs online to protect your environment. Get the hashes updated with your antivirus, and make sure you've got the right network blocks in place. Okay, good luck, guys. Thanks.